Yes.
Welcome back to Hometown Heroes, the series where we shine a spotlight on the people and organizations making a difference right here in Northwest Arkansas. Today's guest is Carol Silva Moralez, Executive Director of Upskill NWA, an organization that's helping working adults gain the skills, education, and support they need to move into higher paying healthcare careers and basically create brighter futures for themselves and their families. At Upscale NWA, they're doing far more than helping people just earn credentials. They're helping people overcome the obstacles and build the confidence and transform their lives, creating ripple effects that strengthen the families and strengthen our communities and our entire region. So I'm excited to have Carol join us today because we all know about the problems of not enough people in the healthcare professions. So to be able to solve that problem and help others solve their problems of not being able to afford college or any kind of schooling is just amazing in my eyes. So that is the whole reason I invited her to speak with us today. So Carol, welcome.
Thank you so much, Melody, and it's an honor to be here on your show today.
Now, for those who haven't really heard of Upskill NWA, and I have to admit, I did not know about you until I met, I can't think of her name now. I met her at a conference.
Christina
I didn't,
Walters,
might have been Christine. I honestly don't
or
remember.
even
I met her
Hannah,
at a,
could have been Hannah Standifer
but yes, I
there.
met her at a conference and she was telling me all about your organization. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get you on my show. So, what exactly is it that Upskill NWA does?
Great. So Upskill NWA wakes up with a mission to connect people to their dream career in healthcare. But what we are is a nonprofit organization and actually a sectoral based workforce development model. So we have an ecosystem, if you will, Melody Ann, that includes funders and community organizations and educational institutions, all forming one unit to ensure the success of each participant that comes into Upskill NWA. Upskill NWA as an organization pays 100% of training costs, fees, required equipment for every participant that enters our program. We also provide a career navigator to help coach and mentor that participant as they're navigating college for the very first time in most situations. It, I believe, is the secret sauce to our success and how we help participants achieve economic mobility for themselves and their families.
Because that was one of the things that really impressed me when you showed me that chart of all the different organizations that you are connected with
Yes.
and collaborate with. I was like, this is not just this is not just one little organization out there trying to help a few students get through school. This is amazing. This is an entire network of people supporting these students.
Yes, I contend, Melody, and it's a an ecosystem that I've been architecting. So think about all of these little hexagons being put into these honeycomb shapes, because as you know, there's a lot of really great organizations here in Northwest Arkansas. We share some mutual goals with organizations like Goodwill, like Dress for Success Northwest Arkansas, like Credit Counselors of Arkansas, just to name a few, Hark NWA. And it's wonderful when we can all come together and work in this system, again, that works for the good of the participant that's in our program.
So what problems, I mean, I'm sure you just didn't get up one morning and say, I think I'll start this great organization. What did you notice? What problem did we have here that made upskill necessary?
I would share with you that the catalyst for how Upskill NWA even began was with a conversation from the former president of NWAC, Dr. Evelyn Jorgensen. And she approached the NWA Council and said, hey, we can do better. We can, let's find a workforce development model. And I'm paraphrasing here, but let's find a workforce development model that is fully integrated with all the resources that are available in Northwest Arkansas. From that one conversation, the idea of upskill was formed, and it was through exposure to other programs in the nation that were doing the same thing that she had an idea could be done. So the Accelerate Foundation and the Walton Family Foundation, the NWA Council all came together to fund a feasibility study. And we found that model in Project Quest of San Antonio, Texas. And so we have adopted the model and adapted it for the state of Arkansas.
That's awesome. I had no idea that even the Walton Foundation and all of those, that's awesome.
Yes, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
A lot of people think education is the answer, but
Mm.
education alone doesn't solve everything. What what barriers do your participants face that most of us never even think about?
Wow. We've actually just come off of a study on barriers to success from participants who have left the program. We find that financial issues and challenges is the number one reason why people leave. And it is the first reason, the primary reason that our participants even seek wraparound support from Upskill. That childcare issues, transportation issues, they all kind of derive from the same thing. We find that this particular population, Melody Ann, and it is the ALICE population, and ALICE is an acronym that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. So this population lives right here in Northwest Arkansas, the land of milk and honey, if you ask some people, but they are surviving from check to check to check. They are one flat tire away from financial disaster. They may need rental assistance, they need childcare, they need transportation, they may need food, they may need mental health services. It is a population that's surviving but barely surviving. I mean, they need a chance at economic mobility, and we get the honor of providing them that chance. And it's through funders like Walton Family Foundation and the Accelerate Foundation, and also cities and counties who gave some of their ARPA funding, their American Rescue Plan Act funding to upskill so that we could bring in as many participants as we have already. So it's a community effort, really.
So what makes us here in Northwest Arkansas, and I have some ideas because I've noticed some things since I'm not native, but I've noticed some things about this area since we moved here. So what makes us so uniquely positioned, I guess, for a program like this?
Oh gosh, there's so many reasons. That's a great question, Melody Ann. So the infrastructure is here. And if you think about where the future is for this region, it is also, healthcare happens to be a huge industry here. And in 2019, there was a report on this region and the healthcare industry, specifically in the Trip Umbach report is what it's referred to. It was released through the NWA Council. This report looked at healthcare services and the industry in its total, in its entirety, and looked at workforce, looked at graduate medical education, but looked at a number of factors and evaluated those factors in terms of in a strategic lens. So where it stood today and its financial implications and where it needed to be positioned by 2030 so that it could properly support the population that is here now and is moving in at a very high rate every single day. The workforce development segment was an important call out of that report. What we understand is there will be a lot of specialists, and I'm sorry, I'm using these broad terms. I don't have the report handy, but I'm happy to send a link that you can share with your podcast. But when you look at a specialist, they require, and the specialist being at the top of the period, the support structure are all the phlebotomists, licensed practical nurses, and registered nurses that are currently in our Upskill NWA program. They're a necessary part of ensuring that doctor success, how the office functions, how the patients are trained or treated, all of those things are vitally important to ensure that everybody who needs to have medical attention gets medical attention. And so we are putting out this amazing workforce of people who are made up of grit and perseverance. They have done really difficult things, and now they're going to be, I mean, they're currently here at Mercy in Rogers, at Washington Regional in Fayetteville. They're in Northwest hospitals. They're here in clinics, but they're already serving the population here as we see they will continue to do in the years ahead.
So what do you wish more people knew or understood about the talent that's already here and living in our community?
I would say, one, I wish that people, and this is why I'm on your program today, to spread the word. I wish more people knew that Upskill NWA and what we do is real. Now, our participants know we've enrolled over 400 non-traditional students in our program since January of 2022.
Wow.
What is important to know, maybe some of the success metrics that I would like to share. So when a non-traditional student joins Upskill, they are graduating at a rate of 81%. That's significant. When you look at comparisons on non-traditional students that graduate from college, that percentage is small. We're almost double what that rate is, that persistence rate is. I think we can also share, in terms of the participant going to work. So when they graduate, within 90 days, they are placed with an employer right here in Northwest Arkansas. That's how high the demand is. That's how quickly we put people to work. So graduation, pass their exams, and then boom, right into work. We have placed 87% of our graduates right here in Northwest Arkansas. Now, unfortunately, some of them have gone on to other areas, but we are an anchor for this talent. They graduate and they stay here, and they stay here because they sign a contract that says they'll work in Northwest Arkansas with our employer partner for 2 years. And so far, 92% of that population has completed their 2-year commitment to upskill. One of the things that is most important is income advancement, Melody Ann. So our participant is earning more than 37, so they have an increase, earnings increase of $37,000 per year, or 122% increase in income from the time that they came into upskill. Those are life-changing numbers, not only for them, but for the generation that comes behind them and their children who are watching mom or dad go to college and then graduate from college and start their careers.
Yeah, and that's that ripple effect I mentioned. So how
It is.
does, if you could explain that a little bit more, how does helping like that one person become a nurse or a phlebotomist or I don't know, a radiology tech or whatever create a ripple effect basically for the whole community, for the whole region?
Yes, yes. Well, what we see in studies from organizations like Project Quest and Capital Idea that I mentioned, it is a two-generation impact. And we're babies in this, whereas Project Quest has been around 32 years, Capital Idea about 15 years. Um, they have already done studies on this generational impact so that they know that 70% of the children of participants who are in this program through Capital Ideas, as a matter of fact, will go directly to college versus a baseline of 40%. And again, this is because mom and little kiddos are together. They're watching her, primarily her. We've got an 86% female rate in upskill currently, but they're watching their mom go to school and do whatever it takes to graduate from college and start a new life for them.
So is there a student? Tell me about a student that you'll never forget. Let's get a
Oh,
little
I'm
human
looking at
story
her
going.
right now, my screensaver. So we have participant Oma, who came to us in our first cohort. So this was the original 100. So in January of 2022, we had already committed 100 non-traditional students from Northwest Arkansas in this program. Oma graduated in June of last year. And I will never forget her. She graduated at the top of her class, registered nursing class at Northwest Arkansas Community College. She also graduated with a leadership award out of that class and was on the dean's list several times and the president's list at NWAC several times throughout her college career. Um, what makes Oma remarkable is the difficulties and challenges she faced personally as she navigated school. She was married and then was divorced during the time that she was in the program and became the sole provider for her two children. So when she came to celebrate her graduation, she brought one of her girls, or she brought her girl. Her son stayed home. She brought her daughter. And they took a graduation picture. And in this picture, which I'm happy to send along, you see Oma in her her cap and her gown, and her princess is in a gown, but her cap is a little crown. And so this is the two generational impact that I'm hoping we make. The look on her daughter's face is so priceless. She's so proud of her mama. So Oma serves as an inspiration for all of us. She is a local celebrity here. She also happens to give a lot, pay forward a lot to various charities like Potter's House and others. I mean, you may see her on flyers everywhere. She's just a remarkable, remarkable woman and mother.
Was there like a moment, some kind of, I don't know, sign or something when you realize that someone's life is about to change?
Yes, and where you realize it is very unique. So I'll share the story of me and Luciana, who was also part of the 100. So Luciana and I had done Luciana's interview in a commitment session, which is where she says, yes, I want to be part of Upskill. And I met her for the first time in our kickoff in January of 2022. And she introduced me to her father, who was sitting at the table next to us. And so when I shook his hand and I introduced myself, and he's a Spanish speaker, so he and I were speaking Spanish. And I said, I'm glad you're here because their support system, Luciana's going to need you as she tries to navigate college. And he said to me, very seriously, I had to come because I had to make sure you were telling the truth. Things like this don't happen for people like us. Luciana stood there, very proud of her father. When she graduated from college, her father came to find me. I was at their graduation session, and he came to find me and he said, look at what you did. And I said, I did nothing. Luciana decided every single day that she was going to get up and go to school and do her best. And now she's graduating from college. Her twin brother walked up at that time, and he said that he had enrolled in college because Luciana had enrolled in college and he became an EMT. And so there are moments, that define this participant's potential. That happened in that first interaction with her and her father. And their success was defined in that moment at graduation where she proudly walked across the stage after having inspired her brother to go to college too. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's priceless and humbling and inspirational, and it's a very, very personal melody hymn that I get to do this work. It's special and
That is an
privileged.
amazing story. That is an amazing story. And I understand because yes, I grew up poor and that was one thing that I was always told growing up. Things like that
Yes.
don't happen to people like us. It was
Yes,
like,
yes, Melody. And I shared this with you. When I was 14, my mother set me on the path to my purpose which is leading this work. When I was helping her study for her GED, again, I was 14 and she was 30. At the age of 50, my mother graduated from Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas. Every participant that comes into this program is my chance to pay forward the blessings and the model that my mother served in our family. It's very
Have you,
special, just as Luciana is special to her brother and Oma is special to her daughter and her son.
and I have utmost respect for Luciana's father for coming in and going and asking that question because he's right. Things like this
Yes,
don't happen to people like us.
yeah, he was very serious, and we had a serious conversation. And good for him. That takes a lot of courage. And I say that because, I represent this program, and he probably would have sensed some type of, authority, and he spoke, and he was charged with the protection of a father and also the pride of a father protecting his daughter. It was a beautiful moment. I've never forgotten it. I will never forget it.
Have you seen like participants who had doubt either in the program or themselves, or the doubt was more than they lacked the ability? The ability was there, but they just had, maybe no self-confidence, or I don't know.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've also seen, so we have this really neat and intentional pay it forward type opportunity that we offer to our alumni. And that's where they get to come back and participate on a panel during orientation of all the new Upskill NWA participants. And they get to share what they wish they would have known and what their challenges have been and how they've overcome those challenges. Just those three things. I have heard from various participants in that panel this, what you're referring to, Melody. We have women who, and men, but in particular, we had a woman who joined Upskill from the Marshallese community, joined Upskill. So she already had a cultural challenge in being at college. Then, the language piece, and there's college, and then there's um, what makes a really great college student, the time management, the study skills. Plus, she was a mother and a wife, and she had to navigate all those things while she was going to college to become a registered nurse. And there was a point with great vulnerability that she shared when she just couldn't do it anymore. That there was this mental health crisis of being everything to everyone and not feeling like she could do it anymore. But she did, and she graduated college. And that same challenge is in this particular population, Melanie, and because it's a non-traditional student. So this person, maybe they started and stopped college. Or maybe they never went. They graduated from high school and never went to college, and this is their first time. Or they graduated high school and just started working and working. So we see this common challenge of navigating everything for the first time. I mean, imagine making your college schedule. Imagine making time for labs, making time for clinical rotations when you get into the actual registered nurse program. Those are all challenges that have logistical implications because who's going to take care of the babies if I am in school from 8 to 5 or doing clinicals from 8 to 5? How will I navigate my current job responsibilities if I have to go to school from 8 to 5? Of those things are what define, and the grit and perseverance that's required to overcome those obstacles are what define an upskill NWA participant, which is also a person I think is a natural leader Those are the characteristics that even hospital systems are looking for in their directors of nursing and directors of nursing, I think. Um, but it is somebody who can do really hard things.
Well, and I know when I worked out in the corporate world, I had some Marshallese that worked for me, and yes, that's there. The cultural differences must have been, I don't know, I can't
Significant.
even, yes. So hats off to her. She actually graduated. That's amazing.
She did.
Amazing. What do you think surprises people most about returning to school as an adult?
Ooh, I have to believe that it's the time commitment that's required. When I referring to panels of participants who come back and share, over and over again, we hear this best practice being shared of forming your own community at school, the people that you can count on to help you study, that can answer your questions. And while we provide a career navigator that serves as that lifeline to wraparound services, there is this need within the student life that can be filled with the community that they form around them. In our orientation, Melody Ann, that is an intentional practice that we engage in. We seat, as an example, we seat all radiological technologists together at the same table. We may mix nurses, registered nurses, and licensed practical nurses, but we do that to encourage them to meet one another and connect with one another because, as we heard from, anybody, Kylie, Sean, some of those panelists that came back, those students were their lifeline. They could not have made it if they didn't have that community within college to help them to to prepare them for what they were headed for, whether that was clinicals or whether that was exams. They needed to have a study group and they needed to have specific tools within that study group and disciplines to watch YouTube videos together. And it's just so important that they have those things.
Well, I can imagine. I read a paper about that. I have a friend who is a teacher, and she wrote a whole paper about the importance of study groups and why
Yes.
everyone should join one or put one together.
Hmm.
That's so wow. That's and you have one pretty much already provided for them. That's fabulous.
It is. Well, we put them all together and we hope that they can come out of it, have with their family intact and the little community still intact.
So, what do you say to someone who thinks they're too old to start over?
No,
What's
you
your oldest
can.
student? What's your oldest
You
student?
can. Yes, I tell you, Melody Ann, like the rest of the team, I'm out there recruiting all the time. And so whether that person is 34 or 56, like my barista up the street, anybody can come back. You just have to have a support system. And if you don't have one yet, then we'll help you find one. The career navigator, again, is that mentor and coach for a participant who thinks that they can't do this. They can. It requires grit and perseverance, like I mentioned, but it is possible to change your life. That's what I would tell everybody. Take your opportunity. It's here. We are currently accepting applications for the fall of this year. So starting college in August, the second week of August, we're ready. We're ready to bring you on and get you a career navigator and coach to help ensure that you graduate from college and change your life and your family's life.
How old? Is there like an age limit?
There's no age limit.
You hear that,
No, we have
ladies?
had
There's no age
undergrads
limit.
that are 56 years old. So it's amazing. And they're currently working as, let's see, Maria was a licensed practical nurse. Yeah, LPN.
So there you
And
go, lady.
Jenny, they both came out of Northwest Technical Institute.
No age limit, ladies.
No, come on. We're ready for you.
Can we talk about you for a little bit?
Okay.
Well, I'm always
Yes, we
intrigued.
can.
I'm always intrigued because most of the people that I have interviewed on this show, they've all come out of like a very successful previous career, corporate careers before leading their organizations. And that's the same with you. You had a very successful career before leading
Yes, ma'am.
Upskill. So what drew you out of the corporate world into this work?
I know, I know. I did have a 25-year career with Walmart before, and then I went on to become a consultant. And then I was leading and designing community initiatives when the executive recruiter found me and brought me here. I never imagined, Melody Ann, that I would be in the nonprofit space. I had no concept of what it was. But I know that this is where I'm meant to be. And I have to look back at a 25-year career plus my consulting practice to understand that it gave me all of the skills and abilities to be able to be successful in this role. And then, as I said before, I truly believe that my mama set me on my path to my purpose way back when. And I'll share a short story with you. She always envisioned, my mother always envisioned me in education. And so as I rose up the ranks through Walmart, I would come home from whatever state I was living in and ask her if this is what it was. And I would say things like, um, okay, Mom, I'm training and developing the next level of leadership for Walmart stores. And she would pat my hand and tell me how proud she was. And she would say, it's not it. So then I was, in a market. There were more store managers and 1,500 associates. And again, I'm so proud of you, Mija. That's not quite it. And then when I was at Walmart here at the home office, I was on a team. So I led a team that was designing and developing functional and leadership training for our Walmart academies that was training 1.5 million associates across the United States. And even then, it wasn't what she imagined. Now, unfortunately, my mother passed in 2017 of cancer. However, I know that if I asked her that same question today, this would be it.
I can picture it. I can just see your mom sitting there patting your hand going, that's nice, dear, but that's
Oh,
not
yeah,
it.
exactly. That's what she did, Melody. And she was the sweetest, just amazing, amazing woman, Rachel Silva. She was wonderful.
And you're sitting there going, what the heck more do you want, mom?
Come on, mama. Yeah. Yeah, but see, for her and my father, it was never about the fame of it all. It was the purpose of it. What are we, what are you doing? And not that I didn't find purpose in developing people, because I did, or else I wouldn't have stayed as long as I did. But this helping people in families, it just feels different and it feels right.
So was there like a particular moment when you realized that this was your mission and that it was bigger than Walmart, bigger than just workforce development? This is what Mama saw for you. When did you
I
realize
know.
that?
What a great question. I don't think I've stopped to think about that. But there was a point at which, and I would say it was early on in this role, I gave myself permission to be vulnerable. And in that, I was speaking at a luncheon for the Springdale Chamber of Commerce, and there was 400 women in that room. And it was the first time that I had ever uttered the words laid off, because I left Walmart after 25 years because in 2019 I was laid off. And while it was very difficult at the time, it was the launch pad for this and what was to become my purpose in life. And so I don't know if I can remember the exact moment, but it came in front of a big crowd of people. I do know that.
Well, I'm sure I know that Mama knows and she's very proud.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Melody.
I know a lot of people when I've actually talked to a couple of people about this and one of them flatly told me that he doesn't accept charity for things like that, so he's not going to apply. And I'm like, you
Yes,
crazy? Go apply.
yes.
But what is the difference? Because you're not charity per se.
No.
So what is the difference between like giving someone help and giving someone a chance?
Ooh, boy. I would say, first to address the gentleman that you mentioned, we have a lot of people that come into our pipeline that feel that way, even though they've taken the first step to express their interest. They feel like they don't deserve this or it's not meant for them. So there's this, sometimes we refer to it as a scarcity mindset of, no, 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 I got to hold on to everything I have, and that's not what's meant for me. There is, I think, just through the process of screening people, so bringing them in. They, at this point that I'm referring to, they have submitted all of their documents and now they're ready to be connected with a career navigator that will be assigned to them if they are chosen to be part of our project. It's through that process of building that trust because you're not just going to tell anybody all these personal things about you without having some part of trust built into the process. Once we get into that space, people do confide in us their challenges. They do confide in us why they don't take advantage of programs like this or why they don't feel they can. And we take, as we're taking them through there, find a way to reassure them through the things that we've done. I mean, we're a program that reports out publicly all these numbers. So you can look on our website and you'll find them there. Um, we try to get people over that hurdle of thinking that this isn't meant for them or they can't do this. Through that process, we're able of trying to find those stories of where they demonstrate the grit and perseverance that I talk about. We get them to a place where they're like, yeah, I can actually do this. Okay, I think I can. Oh, so it's very interesting. It's a very good question. I'm sure I'll leave this call and mull over it some more. It is a great question. Makes me think. Hmm.
You have helped hundreds of people change careers. Are there
Yes,
a
ma'am.
is there like a pattern do you see in the people who succeed?
Well, they're intrinsically motivated. So we find if we were to do some kind of demographic breakdown, and we do have a lot of data, but we find that most of the participants have children. That's a great intrinsic motivator. I mean, you would do anything for your babies, even if they're fur babies, right? You're gonna dig deep. You're gonna keep going. You're gonna find the reason every day to keep doing the hard things. That's what we see here. And Melody, and this is a non-traditional student. Historically speaking, you can go back to reports through any educational institution and find that this is hard. It's hard to go to school full time. And the numbers show it because people are having to make decisions like, uh, am I going to earn money to pay my light bill and my rent? Yeah. So most often they go to work and do those things. But this population is saying, I can do it all. If the family's relying on me, so I can go to school and I can work. I can do all of this thing. And I can be super mom at home or super dad even. But it's that intrinsic motivation that really drives this population of student that we are enrolling in our program.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Kids are a great motivator, I can tell you that.
Yes, they are. I have four of them, and they're in that picture behind me.
Boys, girls, both.
I have three boys. They're 21, 18, and 17, and I have a 10-year-old daughter. So that whole mix is just perfect. She gives me the sunshine and rainbows I need to, you know, raise three teenage boys and a 21-year-old older son.
Oh, I can't imagine trying to raise a teenager now. Oh my goodness.
Takes a village. It's true.
So if someone is listening right now and they feel stuck, they just feel stuck in their life, what would you want them to know?
That there is hope. There is hope and there's an opportunity in upskill. If they would just email info@upskillnwa.com, they could get some more information, reach Danielle, our career service coordinator, or they can go online and check us out. Just check out the upskillnwa.com website, see what it is we do, see the programs that we offer, and then submit the little 2-minute questionnaire to show that they're interested in at least having a conversation.
And it's not just nursing and phlebotomy. You offer, from what I remember, quite a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah. So we don't offer phlebotomy. I know I've said phlebotomist, med lab tech, registered nurse, licensed practical nurse, surgical tech, radiological imaging technician, a rad tech. So those are just a few of the programs that we offer, but everything that we offer is on our website. And we may expand. So I'm currently exploring which sector to expand into. So more to come.
What gives you, I don't know, what gives you hope, I guess, about the future of Northwest Arkansas?
Oh gosh, that's wonderful. What gives me hope is seeing the people who want to thrive in it. We work with them every single day as participants of Upskill NWA. Again, I've mentioned this, I know it's a broken record, but it's so true. They're willing to do really hard things to change their lives. And we get to be the beneficiaries of that as we're in these hospital systems. For me personally, I've taken my sons and daughters to various mercy clinics around here and have been supported by Upskill NWA participants or graduates from my program. These are lovely, lovely registered nurses and LPNs and people who think that the world is their oyster, that they can do anything. And I want people to believe that. They just have to take the first step, a leap of faith, even when they don't know if there's a step, as the great Martin Luther King said, they just got to take the step.
How gratifying. That must be really like intensely gratifying to walk to enter the medical system at some point and see one of your graduates there actually working and
Yes.
supporting. I
Oh, it
can't
is.
imagine.
It is. And it's equally for them. I remember the most recent one was with one of my sons, and I did take him to a Mercy Clinic in Bella Vista, I believe. And the lady was going through his information and then going through my information. She said, "Wait, are you Carol with Upskill?" I said, "I am Carol with Upskill." And she's like, "Oh my God, can we take our picture together? I'm so grateful. I'm an upskill student." And and so, gosh, can you imagine, Melody Ann? You're going because you've got a sick kiddo, and the person that is serving my son is just so grateful to meet Carol, who works at Upskill. But I say that humbly because there's so much gratitude that is shared in these really powerful moments. So not only that one, but think about the graduation ceremony that I mentioned where Oma and her daughter came. where you get to meet the family that's been supporting this student the whole time. I had a conversation with Anna recently at our graduation ceremony, and her husband and her two little kiddos were there. And a husband is telling me how much he appreciates upskill. And Anna went to school every single day. We did our part. We did our part. We made sure all that training was paid for. We provided her with an amazing coach and mentor and a career navigator. But Anna did the hard work and yet was filled with gratitude for upskill. I mean, it is an indescribable feeling of joy and humility and all of those things.
We said you're recruiting for the fall class. So how do people apply? Are there requirements they have to meet, paperwork they have to fill out? What do they need to do?
Thank you, Melody Ann. They just need to go to www.upskillnwa.com and click on the apply button.
Sounds easy.
That's it. Get started. Take the first step. We can help you change your life. Just take the first step.
And if we want to support the work you're doing, how do we do that?
Good. You can also go to our Upskill NWA website and click on the donate button if you want to do that. Otherwise, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and share our message. We want to make sure that we reach 100 students this year. And so we have an open recruiting campaign and would love to welcome any ambassador. That's somebody who hits like, who comments, and who shares on our Facebook page. We'd be happy to have you.
That's amazing. So you've heard how easy it is to apply. So if you're out there and you need a new career, you're looking at a new career, maybe you've always wanted to get into the healthcare professions, but didn't think you had a way. Now's your chance. Go click the button. It's that easy.
Click the button.
Well, Carol, I
Amazing.
want to thank you. This is amazing. I'm sure that people are just going to be blown away, I guess, is the only thing I can think of by what you're doing. Because I said I had no idea you existed, and now I'm just like, wow. I tell in fact, I just told a friend of mine at lunch, I was like, you need to check this out.
I did too. I did too. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited for what is ahead and, in the expansion of upskill, but definitely in filling this cohort of 100. I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing. So I hope that this will continue to build that pipeline and put more people into our process so that they can be considered for this program. I need 100 people, so come on.
Well, and as we wrap up today's episode, I hope everyone listening will take away something important. Okay. Sometimes, because I talk about all the time about changing your life. Well, sometimes changing a life isn't about having all the answers. Sometimes it's simply just making sure someone has access to an opportunity, something
Yes.
that they might not have had otherwise. And, and,
Hmm.
and that's what I love about the work that Carol and Upskill is doing, because you're not just investing in careers, you're investing in people. You're helping these hardworking, talented people overcome the obstacles that kept them from the success they're achieving now, and discover what's possible for them and build better futures for themselves and then their families, like you mentioned. And then, when one person succeeds, it doesn't stop there. It ripples out to their children, like you said, and their communities and their workplaces, and to you when you walk into one of these medical facilities and you're like, that's an upskill graduate taking care of me. That's awesome.
It is. It is
So
awesome.
so Carol, I want to thank you for joining us today and for sharing both your story and the amazing work that's being done through Upskill.
Thank
And
you
to
so much,
listeners,
Melody. And yeah, it's been a privilege. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
if today's conversation inspired you to suddenly get a career in healthcare, you know what to do. Go click the apply button. I will put all of the links in the show notes. And I encourage you to learn more about Upskill and support their mission if you're able, and share this episode. She needs 100. She needs 100 applicants. She needs 100
That's
students.
right.
Share this episode with someone who maybe needs a reminder that it's never too late. You heard there is no age limit, okay? No age limit. So
No.
it's never too late. It's never too late to learn and grow and take that next step. So let's do this. I want her to reach out to me by the time the fall class starts and tell me she made her 100. Let's do
Yes,
it.
I would love to. I look forward to the day.
So until next time, remember, what do I always say on these episodes? Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they're educators, they're mentors, they're volunteers, they're community leaders, they're everyday people who believe in the potential of others. This has been Hometown Heroes, and I'm Melodian Whiteley, and I will see you on the next episode.